All right, welcome to the show here. Guess what? You're not going to believe this. I got Bill. Yeah, better known as Bill Medley here of the Righteous Brothers. Bill, how are you? Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you very much. I'm doing great. I'm on a little rest right before we come to town and
Right?
feeling great.
That's awesome. Yes, the Righteous Brothers are coming to town. How about that? At the NIACC Auditorium this Sunday night. Tickets are available. I got the scroller going down there below us. You can go to
Uh,
nyac.edu/pals, or you can call up 641-422-4188. So, yeah, the information's right there. Get online. Get those tickets online if you want, or if you want to do it by phone. So,
cool.
you feel good? I mean, this is crazy, Bill, about all the rockers, all the musicians, all these people that are out there still doing it at an incredible age, and it just what's it like for you to keep doing what you've been doing since this early '60s?
Yeah, well, it's amazingly interesting because when Bobby and I first started back
Right.
in actually before Love and Feeling, we had a whole nother career, about 3 year career of just doing rock and roll and rhythm and blues,
Right.
and and at that time, rock and roll was still considered a fad. So we thought we'd do it for a couple of years and then have to go back to driving trucks and stuff, but which wouldn't have been bad. But
Sure.
so now I'm 81 and I'm still up on stage singing songs that I did when I was 24, and uh, it's really remarkable. What's really remarkable to me is that the fans are still there and they want to hear these songs. So
Right.
it's a blessing for me.
All right. Don't you get it? I mean, let's face it. How many times have you sang Unchained Melody? How many times have you sang, you've lost that love and feeling? But you know, I feel like, as an entertainer, when you hear the crowd and how they just are on the edge of their seats, I mean, when you're singing these songs, that must be what keeps you going over and over and says, I'm going to sing this the greatest way I can right now.
Yeah, you're exactly right. When you go when Bucky and Bucky's my partner, Bucky Hurd, and when we go on stage, I feel like I'm 25 years old
Right.
again, and it just and the minute you never close your eyes,
Hmm.
they light up and they go, and that's really that's really the food, that's what feeds you.
Right.
And I've said a million times that, listen, if I had to sing Love and Feeling in the shower every night, I'd probably kill myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. But going on stage and getting that reaction, and the audiences really need to know that we're only as good as they are. You
Right.
know, if they're enjoying it and they turn us on and we turn them on, because the audience is our partner,
Right.
and they're the ones that make that show uh, make me feel like I'm 25.
That's awesome. Take us
Don't look
back.
25. But
I was going to say, take us back to a little bit when you and Bobby met Phil Spector. Uh,
mhm.
can you take us back to that moment you first met Phil? And he's the one that wanted you to sing "You've Lost That Love and Feeling," right?
Yeah, we were signed with Moonglow Records, and Phil Spector saw us doing a job, and Phil called Moonglow Records and said, I want to lease the remainder of their contract. And so we did that. And Phil Spector called these great songwriters, Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil, to write a song for the Righteous Brothers. And they wrote Love and Feeling.
Right.
And the first time they sang it to us, I said, man, what a great song for the Everly Brothers. But I'm not sure, because it was way different than what we've been doing.
Right.
And they sang it for us, and we and there was like three or four things really wrong with the record. We loved the record, but we figured, well, it'll never be a hit because it's too long,
Uh,
and the where my voice was too low. It sounded like I was on the wrong speed, and so, but everything that was wrong with it kind of made it more important, and it just became a huge record. But Phil Spector was real good with us. I know everybody expects to hear a horror story of some sort, but he was real good with us and worked us real hard. But the more he worked us, the better the song got. So we were fine with that, and
yeah.
so it was great being with Phil, and we would have stayed with Phil, but there became a legal problem between Moonglow and Phil, and Phil was saying, "Let's go record." Moonglow says, "No, you can't record." So our agent just bailed us out of the whole thing, and we signed with MGM and recorded Soul and Inspiration and
Right.
some other stuff. So, but Phil was great with us, and boy, what a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant guy doing that wall of sound.
So if you take that song, "You Lost the Love and Feeling," and you take "Soul and Inspiration" and "Unchained Melody," and of course the Dirty Dancing song, "I've Had the Time of My Life." I mean, obviously the biggest ones there. Which one is your favorite out of those?
Well, I've always said, your songs are like your children. You
Yeah.
hate them all.
You hate 'em all?
No, no, they are like your children, and every one, each one of them has a special place in your heart.
Yeah.
We were just fortunate to do really good songs, and uh, but we recorded a song that followed "You've Lost That Love and Feeling" that kind of got lost in the shuffle, even though it went into the top 10, called "Just Once in My Life," written by Carole King,
Mhm.
and that's, well, "Love and Feelings," "Unchained Melody," and they're all special to us, but "Just Once in My Life" was really one of our favorite songs.
Yeah. And I tell you what, every guy is anxious to take their woman to that concert on Sunday night at NIACC 'cause, I tell you what, if you weren't in the romantic mood, you will be by the time the concert gets over with. That's right. So,
Oh,
a lot of guys can probably thank you, Bill.
well, they have. They'll come back. A lot of times we go out and we'll sign and sell some CDs and stuff, and
Yeah.
a lot of guys will say, "Boy, I just want to thank you for what you did for,"
What you did
and
for
the
me.
ladies, yeah, and the ladies will come up and say, "Boy, I just want we had so many wonderful moments with your music." I just talked to your husband. I understand.
Yeah, they just give a couple of winks on that, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, let's touch the heartstrings a little bit. Let's go back to, now Bobby passed away back in '03. Can you talk about, I mean, were you guys literally like kind of like brothers? I mean, you know how you're friends, and gosh, you're a duo, and you guys are a big hit for so many years. I mean, he must have been obviously just a really great treasure to have to hang on to.
Yeah, yeah. Being a duo, well, just being in a band or anything, but a duo is even tougher because more than likely you're both kind of leading men, and you have your own ideas and and then the bigger you get, you kind of form your own little group of people, and it's pretty tough to hold it all together. But Bobby and I did about as good as you can of staying together and holding on, because when you go through so many magical moments in your life, like going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or
Yep.
getting your first record, first going on American Bandstand. Well, that's the two of you that went through that, so there becomes an amazing bond. And yeah, we were like brothers.
Mhm.
And if but everybody wants us, to be brothers and sweethearts and everything
Yeah.
else. the truth is, we are like brothers, and I have a brother. He passed away a few years ago, but when Bobby and I were off the road, uh, we didn't hang around much because half of our life was together.
Mhm.
People would say, "Well, Guy, what? Don't you guys go out to dinner and this and that?" I
Yeah.
said, "Man, we half of our life is
I've been on tour, yeah.
my,
Yep.
my real brother. I'd see him about once a month, maybe."
Yeah. So between '03 and 2016 when you, revived the Righteous Brothers with Bucky, so what was going on in those 13 years? You were thinking about a lot of stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was. I did. I moved to Branson, Missouri, in '06 uh, because I thought we could work constant there, and so I built a home, and it worked out really good
Mm,
until 2008, and then the economy, everything,
yeah.
took a dump, and it really hurt that town.
Mhm.
And so I was doing a lot of work there, a lot of single performing. I'd always done a lot of single performing, and that's where I met Bucky. Was in Branson. He and the cool thing about Bucky and I is we became friends, real good friends, before we got together.
Mhm.
And I had a lot of people kind of on my case saying you should reform the Righteous Brothers. People want to hear this music. And I went in to see Bucky. He had left one theater and went to another, and he was doing uh, his own show, and he was doing some Journey songs in the show.
Okay.
And I didn't know he could do that stuff. And I went in to watch him die. And,
Okay.
but I went in, and he just absolutely blew me away.
Mm,
And the next day, I was taking a walk, and I said, "Well, man, if I was going to do that, which I wasn't looking to do, didn't necessarily want to do it, because replacing Bobby Hatfield you can't do it. You
right.
know, you can't do it. And Bucky does a great job. I told him, I don't need you to sound like Bobby. I need you to sing like Bobby.
Mm,
Don't, the audience will chew you up if they catch you trying to sound like Bobby. There's only one Bobby Hatfield.
yeah.
And so that's what we did. But we got together and sang at the piano, and it just was pretty magical. A little like when Bobby and I got together. It
Wow.
it just worked. And I mean,
Yeah.
some stuff works, some
Yeah.
stuff doesn't. This
Did you
really worked.
was your eyes or ears maybe always on Bucky? Or did you have maybe a choice? Did you have a few that you could
There, there was 3 or 4 people, guys,
oh,
that
right.
certainly wanted to do the job, and that's like kind of when I wasn't looking to do it.
Mhm.
And I brought a couple of those guys on stage just to do like soul and inspiration with me, or
Mhm.
have them sing Unchained Melody or whatever.
Mhm.
And I just didn't feel the connection between the two of us. Where with Bucky, it's remarkable, romance, as it were. But uh, I mean, you've been in the business a long time. If you don't have that comfortable vibe with your
Right.
partner, it would be okay if there was 3 of you and I was doing all the talking or Bucky was doing all the talking. Well, you can get away with it, but 2 guys, you have to interact with each other and this and that. And Bucky just filled the bill
Oh,
perfectly.
right. That's
And
awesome.
he's a wonderful, wonderful guy, a
Mhm.
great father, a great husband uh, to his beautiful wife, and so I couldn't be happier.
Let's talk about movie soundtracks here for a second. Ghost, Top Gun, or Dirty Dancing? Let me ask you first, what was your favorite one to go see in the theater? I mean, which one was your favorite movie to watch?
Uh, I mean, I loved Top Gun, and I loved the way they used "Love and Feeling."
Yeah.
And I've always said, listen, if Tom Cruise is using one of our songs as a pickup line, that's pretty cool. Uh, but to tell you the truth, I really enjoyed. Maybe it was because I was so uh, knocked out. I wasn't expecting Dirty Dancing to be as good and as cute and as authentic because the music with Jimmy Einer, who put the music together, really did a great job.
Mhm.
And so when I went to see it, I was really surprised, and it was my favorite. Even though I I thought Unchained Melody in Ghost, I thought Unchained Melody had a lot to do with the success of
Mm.
Ghost. I don't think Time of My Life had huge, to do with Dirty Dancing, but it was just one piece of the puzzle. It really felt like Unchained Melody in Ghost all the way through the movie. Really, pulled at the strings.
I'm sure.
But I'd have to say, Dirty Dancing is my favorite.
Awesome. I think that the listeners and viewers would like to know, what it's like to get approached to have one of your hits in a movie. I mean, I don't know how that all happens. Maybe you can give the short version of what happens. Is obviously does a promoter call you up and say, "Hey, we got this movie, and they want to use this song, and so are this." What is that process like?
Well, Love and Feeling, we didn't even know Love and Feeling was in the movie.
Oh,
People would come to us and say, Top Gun, they're using your song. So they don't have, and same thing with Unchained Melody. They don't have to ask you. Just go through the
right.
publishing company and this and that. And now I've had the time of my life with Dirty Dancing. They had to come and get me because it was a brand new song
Sure.
and all the above. But they really don't. No, they don't have to ask the artist. Maybe the songwriter. I
Mm,
don't know actually, but
interesting.
it's a nice surprise.
Got it. How about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? 2003. What was that all like for you? You mentioned it earlier in the interview here, but
Yeah.
was that just
Well, it's really funny because maybe I shouldn't tell you the story, but I will.
okay?
Uh, uh, we were supposed to go into the Hall of Fame a lot earlier than what we did,
Right.
but Phil Spector was uh, he was pretty big in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame of who could come in and this and that, and he didn't want any of his artists that he produced in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because it would take. He considered every record that he put out a Phil Spector production,
Mm,
not a Righteous Brother record.
mm,
And so then when Phil had his problems, with the law and this and that, and uh, kind of, he went to prison and this and that, then all of us went in. And so Bobby and I had ourselves pretty worked up that who cares? A Hall of Fame. We don't care if we go in. I don't care. Then my manager called and said, uh, I think you're going in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I said, yes. It's a great honor.
yeah.
It's because basically you're being voted in by the other artists, and
Right.
so that's. But to tell you the truth, You've Lost That Love and Feeling is the most played record in the history of rock and roll,
Hmm.
and
Wow.
that's more amazing to us than
Right.
uh, going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is absolutely wonderful and an honor, and but there's 300 people in there.
Hmm. Yeah.
You have the biggest song ever played. That's just you. So that's harder to wrap your brain around. But going into the Hall of Fame and being there that night with Bobby's family and my family and getting to know, Elton John, Steve Tyler, a whole bunch of people were there, and to find out how you influenced these some of these guys
Right.
uh, was really, really heartwarming, I must say.
Speaking of the "You've Lost That Love and Feeling" being the most played, how about I remember a good friend of mine, Mike Harvey. He does something called the Super Gold Show, and I don't know if you
Well,
remember him
yeah,
back. You
yes,
do,
I do.
okay. Yeah, he's great, and he's still out there doing his thing or whatever. I remember him saying back in the late '80s that this is the most romantic song of all time, and we went into Unchained Melody. Do you still hold that? Is that still? I would think it was. I should Google it or something, but I would think that Unchained Melody still would be the most romantic song of all time.
Yeah, I think some radio stations do a top 100 of love songs,
Sure.
best love song, and Unchained Melody usually comes out number one. I mean, when we recorded it, uh, it was a song I accidentally produced because we were with Phil, and Phil Spector asked me to produce the albums. Well, we put Unchained Melody on the album. Phil put it on the B side of a record, his
Right.
song that he produced. And for some reason, every disc jockey in the country flipped it over and played Unchained Melody.
Yeah.
Uh, so it became a hit, you
Right.
know. But man, in that movie, it's remarkable what television and what movies can do for a song.
Yeah.
After Ghost, boy, that song was just on fire, and now it's just the most probably the greatest love song, probably at weddings and stuff. And,
Hmm.
you know, uh,
It's on all the playlists and all the wedding shows that I do. I know
yeah, and
all the
yeah,
time.
yeah, I bet. And because Love and Feeling, I've had some people say, we had Love and Feeling played at our wedding. I said, it's called You've Lost That Love and Feeling.
Exactly.
It's a great divorce song, but not. Uh, but for some reason, it has this kind of romantic love and feeling does. But anyway, Unchained Melody. Bobby Hatfield sang lead on it, and he was just one of the great singers to come out of the '60s.
Hey,
Incredible singer.
Bill Medley here from the Righteous Brothers. We're talking to here, and before we talk about the concert itself on Sunday night, I would just like to ask you. Gosh, you've been a crooner for all your life. What talents do you have other than singing? I mean, are you a great chef? I mean, are you somebody that can, I don't know, drive a race car? Or what kind of other talents do you have? Hobbies that you like to do.
I am the epitome of a one-trick pony.
Oh,
I'm, I'm a singer.
and
I'm a I'm a father. You
yeah.
know, and I lost my wife about a year and a half ago. So
Mm,
you know, it's right at COVID, so everything has changed. But
yeah.
uh, yeah, it's no.
No.
I know how to cook enough, maybe to live, but other than that, when I was younger, I used to race motorcycles in the dirt and did all that and loved it. But
Okay.
I I'm just a real musical guy. I can write songs, produce, and as long as music is involved, I'm a pretty good boy. But anything else, I'm not good at.
Do you think that if you didn't become a superstar with your voice, you just would be just writing music, maybe?
Well, I would hope that I would be writing and producing.
Right.
That's because I did a little bit of that before I became a righteous brother. Some
Right.
writing and stuff, but I don't know. I think probably what I would love to do is I love to design houses and do all the architect stuff. And my wife
Really?
was an incredible designer, and so that I would really love to do. But I probably would be best at writing and maybe producing.
Okay. One more here before we talk about the show itself on Sunday night, which is going to be out at NIACC Auditorium. We're looking very forward to having Bucky and Bill there, the Righteous Brothers revision here on Sunday night. What's the last concert you saw?
Last concert I saw,
Yeah.
boy, you know what? I think it was probably Bonnie Raitt.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And she was up in LA, and I was raised in Orange County, which is about 40, 50 miles down the road. And I drove up to LA, my wife and I, and just sat in the audience. And
Wow.
nobody knew who I was or this and that. And I loved her, and I still do. And I think that's probably the last. No, what am I talking about? Keb Mo, blues artist.
Okay.
Went to see in Springfield. Bucky and I and our families
Sure.
went to see Keb. He's a good friend.
That's good.
That was the last show I've
All
seen.
right. So tell us about Sunday night. What can us as an audience, when we get tickets, what are we going to look forward to? I mean, it's an obvious the question, I realize,
No,
but
no,
maybe you can kind of enlighten us a little bit.
it's not obvious. I mean, now that I think of it, I went to see Van Morrison not long ago,
Oh, okay.
and I did a song for his new album, but or a duet with Van, and um, the, our show will be. I brought Van up because Van would do some not a lot of his hits and stuff, and I was a little disappointed. A great show, it was an incredibly great show, but I just wanted to hear those hits. And
Mhm.
that's what that I know that's why the audience is there. They're not there to look at Bill and Bob or Bill and Bucky. They're there to hear you never close. I know what they want.
Right.
So we do all the hits. We make sure we do all the hits, and then there's a couple of moments that I like Bucky to do something that isn't a Righteous Brothers song that really shows him off, so the audience can really know what a great talent he is. And I do Unchained Melody in the show, and it's a tribute to Bobby, and we show some video,
Mm,
and but it wouldn't be fair to have Bucky do Unchained Melody because their ears are so in tuned
sure.
uh, to Bobby, and he does it. He's done it, and he kills it.
Mm.
But so we do all the hits and a few, two or three surprises, but we never get far from the script.
Right.
We do those songs, and uh, first off, I want to be loved, and I know that that's what I want them. They're going to love me if I do that song.
It all
So
comes back to that. You bet.
yeah, full circle.
Speaking of surprises, I am sure that you get constantly asked, I want to propose to my fiance, or I want to propose to my girlfriend, or whatever. And I can just imagine that's happening about every night you're up on stage. I would think.
Well, yeah, once in a while, either the promoter will have a friend or this or that, whatever, and we'll get a note backstage
Yeah,
saying, my friend Larry is going to propose to his wife, and he would love to do it in the show.
right.
Ding, ding, ding. And I said, well, as long as it doesn't work out and I don't have to pay alimony, I'm
You're okay.
fine with it. Yeah, but it is odd. I always think to myself, man, what if the girl said no? I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I don't want to. Oh,
Oh
I
man,
want to marry that guy up on stage. That's what.
yeah, I want that guy.
Yeah, I want that guy. All
Uh,
right.
but but yeah, we've done that a few times,
All
and
right.
thank God it's worked out every time.
You
Don't
got it.
know if it's worked out in the long run, but it worked out that night.
Bill, we were.
Oh, your voice went away. Did my voice go away? I can't hear you, Mac. I can't. I can't hear you. I don't know if it's me or you. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. I can't hear you. I can't hear you at all.
I don't know what to do. There's no mute and then unmute.
Oh no, I can't see you. Well, I don't know.
He's muted.
Hmm?
He's muted.
My daughter says you're muted. Can you hear me?
Your other interview's up though.
Who?
They've called a couple times.
Who?
Your other interview.
I'm sorry, man. I can't hear you. My daughter says you're muted. Well, he keeps talking.
I think he's on air.
I have another interview. I'm sorry.
He's
Harry.
just getting off his interview. Hello?